If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
International stream going on here.
International stream by the big homie.
River. Up next is Afreet-My Land is Breaking. They are an Afghan metal band formed by the main 2 artists behind the band District Unknown, which is likely the first known Afghan metal band. This song was released after the U.S. pull out from Afghanistan and is about that particular topic. It's a strong anti-war message, and considering current events, seems a good song to add to the list.
Here we are. Afreet-My Land is Breaking.
Let's go. Oh my gosh. That. Wow. That.
I was when the pullout happened in Afghanistan. Those are real videos. People chasing after the plane and all that shit.
It looked like real footage to me.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable to me. But so what this guy said was, he goes, our country was humiliated today. And
who said this?
It was some Christian guy. He was saying our country was humiliated today in Afghanistan. And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even process it. He's like, we turned tail and ran from the Taliban, blah, 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 blah. So our country was humiliated. I was like, we bombed the shit out of these people for 20 years and killed a bunch of innocent civilians. Like, that is where our country should have shame. Like,
yeah.
The way we left, I don't care about the optics, but, I mean, you know, Jimmy Dore talks about this from time to time. According to the documents, nearly 90% of the people killed in airstrikes were not intended targets. That's one campaign
90%?
Yeah,
It was
in a 5-month period. I didn't get the entire clip, but just for perspective, we had a 5-month period in which we drone bombed people. This was during the Obama administration. We drone bombed people in a 5-month stretch where 9 out of 10 of them were not the intended targets.
Oh my God.
Okay? We killed those people. Shout out to Riv for...
I have to say, this was like one of the most meaningful songs I've heard in a very long time. It was so raw. Like, lyrically, it was raw. The way that they did the music was absolutely perfect. I have zero criticism for this song, and like I felt every bit of this song, start to finish. The way that the guy was singing, the visuals. I did like the shirt as well. I would rock one of those for sure. Yeah,
They strike our hearts, separate us into parts.
That's awaken a nightmare.
That's probably a double entendre because...
Yes. Yeah.
Of the way that we've divided Afghanistan. We've divided those people.
Yeah.
And we literally separate people into parts when we bomb the shit out of them. And when we invaded Afghanistan... Think about this. We invaded Afghanistan because Mullah Omar, because again, I know we all have, well, I mean, I don't even know if Riv was really conscious around this time. But Bin Laden attacked us. He was in Afghanistan with the Taliban and Mullah Omar. And we said, hey, you're with us or you're with the terrorists. And the... What's interesting is initially it was being presented to the media that the Afghanis said, man, fuck you. No. We're going to keep him. Fuck America. We hate all of you. Yada, yada, yada. When in reality, what they said was, give us this evidence that it was really him and we'll consider it. Right? Now, Islamically, I don't believe that the Tali was ever going to hand over Bin Laden to us, and nor should they. Not if they're following Islam properly. And I don't know if you remember this, dear listener, but the same video in Lone Survivor, you know, where they caught the Navy SEAL? They caught Marcus Luttrell?
Yeah.
The concept of Pashtunwali, which is it's an ancient Near Eastern. We're going to protect the guest even if it costs us our lives. Was also in play with Bin Laden. So you had the Islamic layer, which is you cannot give over a one of your brothers to Al Kafarun, especially if it's unbelievers who are causing all sorts of trouble in the world.
Yeah.
There are courts for Islamic jurisprudence, depending on, what degree of Salafist you are, where there is an Islamic world where you could presumably charge him for capital crimes and then execute him under the hands of an Islamic court. But there really isn't a lot of space in early Islamic history where you're going to hand off one of your brothers to be tried by unbelievers. It is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Just not going to happen. And it's not something that the tally could ever do publicly. It's just not going to happen. So when they said, give us the evidence that this guy actually did this stuff, then that was seen as a stall tactic to get Bin Laden out of there. It was a stall tactic. Mm-hmm. And my point is to simply say, we knew that. Send the Jawbreaker folks in there, which we did, with I think it was like $30 million or whatever, and get folks on the ground and kill them. Or whatever. Or there are a lot of ways, guy. All I'll say, in my mind, there's a lot of ways that we could have solved that problem. Did we have a legitimate beef with Bin Laden? I believe we did. I believe we had a legitimate beef with Bin Laden. And, whether or not his actions were I lost it on 9/11. His actions were understandable to me. They're not justifiable. And there was no way we could have allowed him to do that and him not pay a heavy price for it. Mm-hmm. So I understand, he's got to die. But did we need to put conventional troops? We needed to lean in the weight of the U.S. military into this country? Did we need to hook up with the Northern Alliance? Again, all this stuff is stuff that we don't think about anymore. We hooked up with the Northern Alliance, who were not very good people. And what did the Northern Alliance do? As soon as we came in and the balance of power shifted, they started extrajudicially executing people. They started executing tally people. It was all over the place. I remember when I first started hearing reports of these tally people getting executed. These people were going house to house and executing tally or suspected tally members. And I said, yeah, get those motherfuckers. I never swear in front of my mother. I said, get those motherfuckers. I said, I'm going to fuck them all. And my mother, because she knew I was really angry. Because I was like, I've never really been the same since 9/11. And at the time, I hadn't known that my aunt had died in 9/11. I didn't even know that. All I knew was that people were jumping off a building. That's the thing that got me. Was people were jumping off of buildings. I could taste the blood in my mouth. I was so angry. I was like, I wanted to fucking. If you would have. I was extremely angry and thoroughly propagandized, and I had no idea what was happening. I didn't know what was happening to me. Nobody could sit there and guide me through and say, "Listen, your government is propagandizing you." The media they're doing this on purpose. They're showing the buildings crashing over and over again, and then they show the Green Berets jumping out of the thing, and then Black Hawk Down comes out 6 months later. This shit is but I didn't know. I was a teenager being completely dragged around by my emotions. And so when I heard all those tally people were getting executed, I was like, good for them. And my mother, she saw the state that I was in. And so she said quietly to me, and what do you think will happen when we leave? She said, what do you think is going to happen when we leave? She said, we're not going to stay there forever. She said, them boys are going to come back, and they're going to do the same thing to a bunch of innocent people. And I said, nah, we're just going to kill them all. She laughed at me. I didn't know. I really thought we were just going to kill all. We're just going to kill them all. And my mother patted me on the head, basically, and got me a Pepsi because she knew I was not in a place to be reasoned with. Wow. But
I mean, the tally, I mean, and it's mind-blowing to me how people in the, quote, intelligence community have such a shallow understanding of Salafist Islam and the form of Islam that was there and the mindset of the people and things like that. And it makes me say there's no way you could have done what we've done in Afghanistan for 20 years based on ignorance and stupidity. Like, you had to have known there was no way that they were going to say, yes, al-Kafaroon, yes, oh, America, yes, na'am, we will give you Sheikh Osama, who was the AOC of his, I mean, the guy was a quadrillionaire, and he left to go do jihad. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. The guy was a billionaire Saudi spoiled, son of a developer, I'm pretty sure. And he left all that to go do jihad in the 80s with the Russians, with the Mujahideen. Yeah. And then now he's got his own group of Mujahideen with him. And his street cred was through the roof.
Yeah.
And so, like, in what universe would they publicly hand him over to us? And so we used that to send in our conventional military, and we were all, I don't care if you were left wing, right wing, it was right after 9/11. I remember it was like a week after 9/11. They interviewed the first Air Force pilot that dropped a bomb in Afghanistan. And they're like, how are you feeling? And he was like, this is for America and all this shit. And again, I didn't know I was being propagandized. I didn't know it was a psyop. And I remember sitting there and like listening to the guy. And I remember the Fox News guy going, woo! Like, it was unbelievable. And it's like, I didn't really understand what happens when we drop bombs. I didn't get it.
Oh, God.
And most Americans don't understand one bomb does.
I didn't either. Like, and I always thought, like, we were talking to AT today, and he was saying that, like, when he was a teenager, like, he was, like, just a hardcore patriot, basically. And that he didn't, almost sounded like to me that he had been properly, brainwashed into thinking that America was, like, perfect. Like, he didn't word it like that, but AT today.
Yeah.
And I was like, me too. I thought that, like, I remember singing, the national anthem and doing all that stuff and feeling like such pride for our country. Like, we were going to fight against terrorism. We were going to fight against these, I had no clue that we were bombing civilians. I had no clue that children were being dismembered. I just...
Weddings.
And the only time that I ever heard about kids being killed was when they were telling us that the Taliban was doing it. That the Taliban was putting up kids all over the place on posts and poles and stuff. And so then you're like, it's good we're over there. It's good that we're doing this.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on.
Homegirl showed up in a burqa at the floor of the UN Senate. The girl's in a burqa. Look, she's in a burqa. Blah, blah, blah. And we need to go. And it became... They attacked us, and it was like, well, they didn't attack us, but they're housing the guy that attacked us to, the Taliban are horrible people. And there was one guy at school, I'll never forget it, he's like, well, I mean, the Taliban were horrible people before 9/11. He's like, so that shouldn't factor into why we're going into, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Now something happened to us, now all of a sudden we're, and he was... I almost hit the kid. I mean, because I was like insane. Because at the time I was already looking at shit from the Ranger Regiment and all that, what the Rangers were doing in World War II and all that. So I was already like History Channel. You know those phases I go in. Mm-hmm. So I was on a History Channel phase, and I was just watching everything that the Rangers did, and that was like my big goal. Like, I'm gonna go to Ranger School, blah blah blah. So then 9/11 happened, and I was just like. And then all the quote patriotism that that was so this guy was saying all this stuff. I just wanted to annihilate him. And it was funny, it's one of the ways that my teachers knew like something was wrong with me, because I was like a week or a month out of ending up in the hospital after 9/11. I didn't last. I don't even think I lasted until Halloween after that. No.
Oh wow.
But like they had us write, whatever. It was like a speech and debate class or something, and I didn't name the guy, but I'm like, what? And I just went off on the guy, and like she had him leave 5 minutes before class ended.
Oh, wow.
I saw her reading through everybody's stuff, and she marked up my page. And then she had him leave early and held me back. She's like, "How are you doing?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "What the fuck? What do you mean? How am I doing?" Yeah, I mean, I just went off, and she was just kind of looking at me, and I didn't really understand. Now I understand. Like, I was crazy, but at the time, like, I was really angry at that guy. It's like I wanted. Wow. I was like, you know, it was just like completely ridiculous. But I had no idea how deeply propagandized I was until you start like being trained or whatever, joining organizations, and then you're like, holy shit! Oh, that's what that was! Oh my god! And you know, it's a very pretty crazy feeling. It's like, you know, that I call it my I see dead people moment. You know, the moment you find out what The Sixth Sense was about, and the entire time it's like, fuck. So it's just hard watching that video because like that's the end of us being there or whatever, and then we just leave a completely mangled country that's in a worse position than when it started. It was just a horrible thing to like look at as an American. But I think, you know, to River's point, like the more and more light we show in this, and we talk about what's happening in Yemen, we talk about what's happening in Horn of Africa, things like that. Like it's important.
Absolutely.
You know, because it really protects. I was talking to AT. Maybe we've swung.
They were laughing?
I remember first time I seen a footage of a drone missing a target, killing some goats and kids. Everyone in the room were laughing. Yeah. The people are. Yeah.
Well, that's awful.
Drones are great for the American public because you can limit the amount of American casualties. And then once in a while, if you're lucky, you hit your you hit your high value, you hit whoever. So it's a win-win for the American public, you know, because if we had to kill these people or do snatch and grab or whatever it is, conventionally speaking, folks are gonna die. They're gonna get maimed. They're gonna die, and we don't want to see that. So. You know, what Trump's first State of the Union address, he had the wife of that one Navy SEAL up there because he died in a raid in Yemen. That was the same raid where we killed Anwar al-Awlaki's daughter. Took the back of her head off in the middle of a raid. We killed like a bunch of civvies, 2 kids. He had one kid describing how he saw his sister's head explode, all this shit. But then there's Trump. With this Navy, the way, and everybody knows I love those guys, Dev Group, whatever. Everybody knows that, and I got hella respect for them. But they made her like, he's looking down on you, blah 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 blah. I'm like, if he's looking down, he's saying I shouldn't have killed them kids. And you know, so we've just been you know stomping around the world, just making life fucking unlivable for people. And so shout out to Riv. Shout out to Riv for that.
Yeah.
Drones are also great for farmers in pine fields or randoms at a wedding. That was the worst thing to me, man. That was the worst thing to me. That's just absolutely horrible. Horrible. So again, another silent count.
Not for me. It's an 11. I understand the silent count thing, but I got to give these people all the props all the way. Like this whole entire endeavor was completely flawless, and from the production to their vocals to their aesthetics, everything, the content in their lyrics, I feel like that they didn't shy away from what people would not want to hear or what people wouldn't want to look at. I mean, I have to say, like, I will never watch this review again. I wanted to escape this review the entire time. I didn't want to talk about the topic. I didn't want to hear and see what's going on any more than I already know. Like, it's just absolutely, you know, Because when you have kids, like, you picture, like, if that was your kid in that situation, and like that, what Amy just said, like, people, to me, the idea that grown people in a room would be laughing that somebody's child just died is, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that level of evil, that someone could laugh about that. I mean, like, how disconnected from human beings are you to be able to think that something like that is funny, you know, and to see the suffering that other people are going through. And, you know, even that church that you were going to, and, you know, they had announced that someone was dead, and then there was a big cheer, and like, wow, like, what is happening? Where's our humanity? Like, I long for the new world, the good world, when people care for each other like they care for their own family. And it was a really sad thing to see, but they just did an amazing job. And it's definitely an 11 for me, which we don't give scores higher than 11. 10 is as high as we go, but, you know, some of them, they break the score. And so this is an 11 for me.
And that's one of the things that I really resent our media for. Was, you know, Amy's talking about people were cheering in many cities when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to do a Hassan Piker and say we deserved it or whatever, because I'm never gonna justify violence, but I understand it.
Yeah. And
I also understand people cheering. Like, those people didn't know my aunt, and if they would have known my aunt, they'd have loved her. Like, that's not why they were cheering. They weren't saying, fuck her. They weren't saying that. But, man, we've been going around and causing so much problems for people all over the planet and ruining people's lives in wholesale.
Yeah.
And when something finally happens to us, people are like, fucking right, good for you.
Yeah.
And like, but our media were like, anybody they just hate our freedom. They hate how free we are. That's what it is. And like I said, whether or not I understand it or I deserve it, I also know that there was gonna be a response. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And I understand that too.
Yeah.
But we would have been so well served if people would have said, listen, here's why people are celebrating this happened to you. Here's why. Now, I know you guys are going to go get bin Laden. It was funny. There was like an ambassador to Iraq, and the guy was saying something like, let us have one more opportunity to do X, Y, or Z. And then he's like, then you can have your war. And I just remember saying, nah, motherfucker, we're going to have our war regardless. And it was just like this crazy, arrogant, I'm hurt, so now people that you love in your country are going to have to fucking die. Like, it was just an unbelievable, crazy feeling. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, really got my guard up against any sort of like time the government wants me to hate a group of people or hate a country. I'm like, wait a second, I've seen
what
this
What
before.
are you trying to do? Yeah.
Yeah. You try to make one group innocent and another group completely guilty and demonize them and all that. I'm like, nah, I've seen this game before, and I'm going to go ahead and bet that the situation's a lot more complicated than you're saying, because when we got attacked, you told me it was because of freedom.
Yep.
You didn't tell me about imperialism and all the shit that we were doing all over the place.
Exactly.
You said it was because they didn't like the fact we had French fries. You lying sack of shit. So that's why I don't trust none of you in the media anymore. Anyway, really, 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 really good song. Really, really good song. I'll just read this one thing and then we got to peace out. I know, for example, people in Belgrade, Serbia, ex-Yugoslavia, shout out to Yugoslavia, cheered because we bombed them 3 months every night till dawn, honestly, so we can get a hold of Kosovo and build bond steel. Right. You get bombed every single day for 3 months until dawn. So what do you think they're going to do when 9/11 happens? They don't know about my aunt, but they don't
care about your aunt because you didn't care about them. Their people are dead. Their family is dead.
We didn't care. Anyway, there you go, dear listener. The moral of the story is we got to hold our country accountable. We're not completely responsible for all the ugliness that we saw in that video. But we undergirded that for 20 years, man, and we created the environment and the seats in Laban, the situation in life, where something like that is inevitable. Not that something like that could happen, but something like that was inevitable. Aside from the bombs that we directly dropped, we also created an environment where the tally and all the rest of them can have an absolute and complete stranglehold over these poor people. And there's not really much end in sight. And I love the fact that they ended the video on like the greenery and all that. Because anytime you think of Afghanistan, you never think of a beautiful place.
No, I know.
You only think of...
Yeah, I was zoomed in on their... I don't know if it's the album cover or what, but it was beautiful.
You only think of the ruins.
Yeah, right here. They've got the water and the land.
Yeah.
And then they put their band name. I guess this is the color of their flag.
Flag, yeah.
Just a beautiful. They are really good with aesthetics.
Yeah, they are.
I kept thinking of you the whole time because you're like, when you do stuff, it has that level
I bet you
of...
anything, if you had 3D glasses, that would pop too.
I bet it would.
Those are the
Yeah,
3D
those are the
colors.
colors, yeah.
They're really good. But yeah, but I like also the greenery that they showed in there, because Afghanistan is not just a bunch of broken cities and whatever. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So shout out to Afghanistan. Okay,
let me escape this review.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Go!